Hello everybody, Gavin McCormack here and welcome. Now this morning we have found our way onto the Antarctic Peninsula and we're here with Pat, who is a marine biologist. Hello Pat.
Hey Gavin, how are you?
I'm good, thank you so much. Now, as we know, there are many types of seals here in Antarctica. They are Weddell seals, elephant seals, leopard seals, fur seals and
crab-eater seals.
the crab-eater seal, which we saw yesterday. Now, behind us we have a group of fur seals who seem to be playing. Pat, can you tell us what's happening behind us? How come they're so active?
Yeah, so our little fur seals here, they're probably only quite young ones, but they do play around a lot. They socialise, they like to just have little sort of fights. Sometimes it can be a bit more serious, but a lot of the time it's kind of like what you see with puppies doing, just playing around, I guess practicing honing their skills for as they get older as well.
Amazing. Now, what kind of things do these fur seals eat?
So these guys, they like to eat a variety of different fish, as well as squid. That's some of the main parts of their diet down here. And they'll dive down, not super deep, but into a lot of the waters around here, hunting a lot of the different fish.
Cool. Now, this is all salt water everywhere. So how do fur seals drink water? Do they drink salt water?
So they have kidneys that can process the salts, but most of the water they actually get from the food they're eating and from the metabolism. When they break down the food, it releases water as well.
Right.
And that's where the majority of their actual water comes from.
So
But
amazing.
sometimes they might also drink fresh water that's melting off the snow as well.
Great. Now, if a seal is feeling threatened, let's say a fur seal, by another kind of animal or a human being, what do they do? What kind of actions do they display?
Yeah, so normally they'll stand up tall, they'll be looking straight at you, and they'll often open their mouth and bare their teeth, give a big growl. But a lot of the time it's bluffing. They're not actually going to charge at you, but they'll make it look like it. So the majority of the time, that's what they do to tell you to back off. And that's normally a good time just to slowly walk away, but keep your eyes on the seal.
Now, these animals are so cute. They're so adorable. They have whiskers. They look really furry. How do they keep warm here? I mean, they don't look like they're very fluffy or furry. How do they keep warm? I mean, it's -5 degrees this morning. How do they keep warm in Antarctica?
Yeah, well, for our fur seals, they do have quite a good layer of fur, which traps air underneath it and gives them a beautiful coat of insulation from that air. But also beneath that, they've got blubber beneath the skin.
Right.
And the blubber is like a layer of fat all over their body. And that also helps, like a jumper, it keeps them nice and warm.
All right. Now, the ice is obviously very important to them. How important is the ice in Antarctica? We all know the ice is melting, the glaciers are retreating. What happens if the ice vanishes? What happens to these seals here?
So these seals rely on the ice for many things. Well, a big thing though is with the sea ice is the krill that feed on them, because the krill are like a base of the ecosystem, and they're relying on that sea ice to feed on the little bits of algae underneath and to seek shelter. And without the sea ice, they don't have a place to be protected and to continue growing. So
Right.
that affects the food of these guys as well.
That's really wild because, if we can't control global warming, then the ice will melt and ultimately these guys here who are so beautiful and playing around will end up suffering. Now, this week we're focusing on SDG number 14, which is life underwater. You can find in your action cards that you have a series of activities you need to take on. Those activities will allow you to achieve SDG 14. And collectively, if we work together, we can make sure that not only is the ice preserved in this region, but these wonderful creatures behind us can continue to live and thrive all around the world. But more importantly than that, this week is all about you conducting some research. As Pat said, there are 5 distinct types of seals that we're talking about this week. We've looked at the first seal this week, and we want you to choose your favorite, conduct a research study, and create a digital infographic, and then use that to teach other people about these amazing creatures. Now, Pat, before we go, there are probably many children around the world who are thinking, goodness me, I'd love to be like Pat. Pat's a marine biologist, he's in Antarctica, he's hanging out with seals all day. How did you get into this job?
Yeah, well for me, I grew up with a love for the outdoors and a love for animals. And for me, the ocean was a big thing. I always loved it, and it was something I wanted to study. But I will definitely say, even if you don't live near the ocean, if it's something that interests you, still study it, because it can take you to amazing places. Even if you're not right on it, you can still learn so much and do so much with the ocean and get down to these fantastic areas.
Now, how did you get into this though? What was your steps to becoming a marine biologist in Antarctica?
So I studied at the university. I did a degree in marine biology. And then I started working in the marine tourism industry, so doing things like snorkel guiding, as a naturalist, tour guiding, and just slowly built up experience and eventually got working on some of these ships coming down to these areas.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your insight this week. It's been beautiful to have you, Pat.
Thank you, Gavin.
And we'll see you next week, and we'll finish by taking a look at these wonderful seals in action.